Good morning, we're live, and today I'm going to teach you how to do a board and train from your house. Yeah, that's right. I got a question about this a few times actually, and before I did it, I wanted to make sure I took a second to sit down to try to make it really, really simple and easy and not get too complicated with this thing. So thank you for joining. It's Monday. It's a good day, and today we're talking about doing a board and train at your house. What's cool about this, because what I'm going to teach you is if you went to a board and train and you go home, this is a good way to start the process of getting your dog adjusted back home. Especially if you went through if you have like a dog who's a little more serious, if you go through a rehab program or something. This is a great way for you to also follow a path for you to follow going home to slowly get your dog back on track. Okay. So, but even if you want to do the board and train at your house, this is what we're going to do today. I'm going to teach you how to do it, the concepts of it. Now, I'm not going to teach you every little technique or everything like that. That's going to be something you're going to have to do, all right? But I'm going to give you a layout of what the day should look like and what the structure of the board and train should look like. And I'm going to keep it really, really, really easy, and it works, okay? So good morning. Thank you for joining. It's Monday, and we're ready to rock and roll. We had a great weekend, and now it's back to work, and I really want to get this message out there clear to show people how to make progress with your dog, because you can make progress with your dog at home. You can do a board and train essentially in your own house, and this is how it's done. Okay, this is the simplest way that I can explain it. All right, the kennel or the crate. If you don't have one, you have to get one. That is home base, okay? Remember, this goes for doing a board and train at home, but this also goes for post-board and train clients who bring their dog home and they want to know where to start. How to, during this adjustment period of getting your dog to behave at home now that it's home from its board and train, how do we start? The kennel is home base, okay? That right there is already going to be hard on people because you're going to be seeing your dog less. Let me just put that out there. This is the price to pay to get things better. There's always a price to pay, okay? And the price to pay is the dog's going to be spending more time in the kennel. And that's why nobody does this stuff. Right there, I'll tell you right now, I've worked with a lot of freaking people and a lot of dogs, and people don't like putting their dogs in kennels, okay? They don't. So you're going to have to get over that hump. Your dog's going to be in the kennel a lot at first. Not forever. Eventually, your dog's going to be living the good life. But at first, it's in the kennel, because here's why. We are either, if you're training your dog at home or you went through a board and train, it's going to be the same. We need to change the dog's behavioral responses, and we need to change their associations. You guys know I talk about that, but I'm not going to get that crazy into the science today. So it's literally, kennel is home base. We create calm, relaxed mind in the kennel first. We have to. That's the first thing you're going to want to prove, right? When we leave home base, we know in there the dog's just calm and not doing any experiences that we don't want, right? We're going to take them out of that little box or that kennel, give them an experience, which I'll explain what you should be doing in the progression, and then put them back into that box or that kennel so that they're not having any other experiences until we take them back out and have another experience. So we can stack experiences as the days go on to change the way the dog believes and behaves. This is what a board and train does, and this is what you can do at home. This is why nobody wants to do it, because nobody wants to put their dog in a kennel, okay? But if you're not that person, you're okay with putting your dog in a kennel, this is going to be easier for you, all right? So the reason the kennel is important, because if we're making a nice if we're stacking experiences here and we're trying to get our dog on the right track, and we don't put our dog in the kennel, in between those experiences, there's a high probability that our dog's going to do experiences that we don't want them to do, which is putting, like if we're making an experience sandwich, right? We want it to be nice and yummy. We don't want to put piles of shit in there every few days where the dog's having a bad experience, right? Because we want to have control of those experiences so that we can change the way our dog believes about the world and behaves, okay? So that's why the kennel is important, because we put them in there and we know we're not going to get any shit in our sandwich. Okay, we're going to get a nice bite when it's done. It's going to be yummy, and we're all going to enjoy the product of our labor. So we put our dog in the kennel. That's home base. We take them out. We work on something. Whatever that may look like, I'll get into that. And then we put them back in the kennel. That's it. And then they're in there for hours before the next experience. Hours. They need to think on the lesson. They need to nap. They need to relax. And then we take them back out. And we can repeat the same experience. And then put them back in. And you watch as the days go on, the dog gets the answer right, whatever you're doing, and I will get into that. And you're continuing to gradually just go through your life and showing the dog how to behave. This is it. That's it. It's not glamorous. It's not fun. I mean, it's fun for me, because I enjoy behavior, so I like watching the process. But for the average person, it's just I hope that you enjoy the process because it's not bad. It's not a bad process. It really is not. You get to see. I think it's amazing. For example, let's put the dog in the kennel, and we're going to take them out, and the first thing we're going to work on is place, or let's say living room behavior. I'm not even going to say place because place is the command that we can use within the living room to manage, but it's not the only thing we need to go through in the living room, right? So I'm taking the dog out of the kennel with the intention of working on my indoor behavior for a session. I love that you guys love the shit in the experience sandwich analogy. It is funny. So we take him out and we're going to work on knocking. Let's say this dog usually goes crazy for guests. Let's break down our experience and not just have a guest come over right away. Let's just see if we can trigger them with just a knock on the door. Okay? We knock on the door, the dog, probably, hopefully, if the dog barks, then that's an obvious thing that we have to correct, right? The dog barks, the dog whines, the dog starts showing any interest in it. We can say no and correct, settle the dog down. These are things you have to learn, obviously. If you watch my channel and you're new, I'm not going to, when I say correct, you have to learn how to do proper punishment on your own. I'm not going to be teaching that during these lives, okay? So let's say you know how to correct. You correct the bark, you calm your dog down. Cool, typical stuff. Now we knock again, we get a successful rep, the dog doesn't bark. Remember, we always want to get a successful rep before we end, okay? And then we let the dog hang out for a little while. I don't have to knock anymore, right there. I'll let the dog hang out for a little while in the peace and quiet. It doesn't even have to be that long, but just to give you an example, if I were to take that dog now and put him in a kennel and then take him out in 2 hours and go and put him in the same situation, we're going to see a dog learn. We're going to literally take the dog back out of the box, bring it to the living room, knock, knock, knock. And even if the dog does make a mistake because it's new to this, what you'll see is they'll have experience with listening to you when you disagree. So as soon as you say no, you'll see them understand that a physical is possible, and they'll want to shape their behavior. They'll want to do what you want. They'll almost be like, whoa, wait, I did that by accident. Like, hang on, give me a second. And now what you're seeing is a dog who's looking at you for direction and saying, well, what should I be doing? And then you tell them, why don't you go over on the place bed, okay? And then I'm going to repeat. I'm going to let him sit there for 30 seconds and then repeat. Knock, knock, knock. The dog doesn't bark. It looks at you and it's like, okay, so this is what I'm supposed to be doing? Good boy. Then let him sit there for, 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Get on your phone, whatever. Just let him relax in the peace and quiet. Remember, you have your dog out during a time where you have control over the environment. So you're setting this stuff up. Now you put him back in his little kennel. And the next day you take him out to work on the same thing, and the guy, you knock on the door and he walks on to the place bed. Because they're getting their association. So it's a long-term strategy. Every day you're stacking experiences, okay? So you could work on the door and then put the dog in the kennel. A few hours later, you could even work on something different, not the door, but the next day kind of go back over. So you can do 2 at once. Sometimes I do this. But it's even if you just do 1 experience a day, okay? Okay, you keep the trainer away. All right, there you go. They say 1 apple a day keeps the dentist away. 1 experience a day will keep the trainer away, as long as you're doing it right. So you got to set it up. So if you want to go work on the walk, the dog's in the kennel. You take them out. You go and do a setup on the walk. If the dog's reactive or something, hopefully you're taking them out with intention to do setups where you're walking by dogs or working on whatever you're struggling with. You're working on it. Let's say you're working on your dog pulling. You go out to the street. Your dog goes to pull. Correction. Turn around, walk the other direction. This is the first time this happens to the dog. They're going to be like, what the hell? They're going to go the other direction. Correction. And we're not asking for a heel today, dog. We're just asking for you not to pull. I'm just going to break it down slightly. Today, I'm going to start to teach you not to pull. I'll get to heel if you don't already know it. If you're not new to, if you haven't already had a board and train, we'll get there. But this experience is no more pulling. Okay? You get the dog to kind of walk on a loose leash. Not very hard to do if you look it up and learn how to do that. It's really not that bad. If you're not teaching heeling, you're just keeping a dog from pulling. It's very simple, okay? Put the dog back in the kennel after this experience, after this walk. Let them sit there for a few hours. Take them back out. Go repeat. Watch what your dog learns. Watch it. Watch your dog understand not to hit the end of that leash, how quick it happens. And then you have an opportunity to build on that. A couple experiences down the road, you can start saying, well, now let's learn how to heel out here too, and start working on that. But here's the thing, I don't think people are going to struggle with this as much as they think they are. I think the real problem is when you're not working with your dog or doing something with your dog, they're practicing other behaviors. They're not even going to learn what you taught them. Let's say you had an amazing session and it really did go good and you really had a breakthrough with your dog, but then you're just like, okay, now go take the rest of the day to dick off and do whatever you want. You're not going to notice the progress as much tomorrow. You're going to notice very slow. A dog who's not attentive, they have better things to do. They'd rather go and do this and do this. So all that goes away. You're just in the kennel. And what happens after a week or two is the dog's like, I love working with you. That's what I do now. I forgot about the other activities because we've been doing this so long. I look forward to you and I training, and your dog can get there. So we use the kennel as home base. We go and work on everything that we need to within our house, within our local neighborhood, the walk, to make sure we have a good dog. We don't need to worry about leaving our property yet. We're not there yet. If we can't get our dog perfect on our walk around our neighborhood and in our house and in our backyard, we don't leave. That's irresponsible to leave. Don't do it. You're not ready. And when you do, that's when you run into trouble. The dog wasn't ready. You're still fumbling. And then you have a setback. You have a little pile of shit in your sandwich now, right? Because you're taking it too fast. And sometimes people think they have a better relationship than they do with their dog especially when they get back from a board and train, because they're still riding off the steam of the board and train. But if you don't pick up where we left off, and keep going, if the steam runs out. And then what happens is your dog just realizes, oh, it's just you again, and I can kind of manipulate this. So if you're doing this at home, it's going to take a little bit to get that good kennel behavior. That's where you're going to run into all your dog's issues, the dog's attitude, the dog's unwillingness to just go in the kennel and relax. You'll run into all of it. All of it. Don't expect this to be easy. Don't expect your dog that you're just going to say, go in the kennel and be quiet until I come and get you again. It's not going to. They're going to scratch at the bars. They're going to whine. That's why you have to know how to punish properly. You have to go look that up through balanced dog trainers. Find dog trainers that you like. Learn how to punish. It's the most valuable skill you can do to do it effectively and humanely, because punishing is the only way to decrease behaviors. The only things you have to influence a dog's behavior is to increase a behavior and to decrease a behavior. That's it. And to increase a behavior, we're rewarding it. All right? Most of the stuff is self-rewarding, so it will increase on its own, like pulling and barking and all this shit. But the only way to decrease something is to punish. You need to learn how to punish. So if the dog's in the kennel and it's whining, or if it's barking, any of that, if it gets punished, it stops doing it. And what's left? Lay down. So what are the rules in the kennel? Lay down and be quiet and relax. I don't want to hear you whine, because you don't need to whine, because I let you out every few hours to go to the bathroom. So you don't need to tell me when you need to go to the bathroom. So don't fall for that trick, guys. If a dog can make a sound out of its mouth, a dog who you're trying to adjust its attitude, let's remember that. A dog we're trying to get back on the right track. If they can go make a noise and then they can get you to come out and do something for them, perform for them, open up the cage, let the door out, not good. It's not how it rolls. You got to change the way that dog's thinking. This dog needs to understand, I don't want to hear anything from you until I come in and let you out. Even then, I don't ever want to hear from you during this process. The dog shouldn't be opening its mouth. It shouldn't be opinionated. Okay, so just remember that. You're taking control when you start this process. Don't mess it up with getting too soft too soon. Okay? So we got our kennel, our experience, and then kennel. That's how the dog's living. That's a lot of hours in the kennel. Okay? That's like 2 to 3 hours between every experience. The dog's going to be in the kennel for 2 to 3 hours. Then it's in the kennel overnight. You're going to have to get used to that. Now, you can let the dog out to stretch its legs, but you can't just let it free and for a few hours doing whatever. Go out in the yard and do something with the dog. Have a play time a few times a day, a couple times a day, a little break with rules to be respectful. You know, play ball, do what you got to do to make sure the dog's getting its exercise, but don't go and leave the property. And don't go get yourself in a situation where you're around, where that's in over your dog's head, right? Just let them stretch their legs. If you have a couple other dogs, let them socialize in the social yard. That's what we do here. And the rest of their exercise will be coming through these experiences, because eventually you're going to be doing more with the dog. The dog's going to be spending less and less time in the kennel as you progress. But while you're at the first stage, it's called that level 1, that kennel is going to be your best friend until you know you've changed the way that your dog behaves in all these bad situations. Then we can just start living with our dogs normally and have them fit into your day however you want. But here's the thing. You can always tighten back up if your dog's behavior slips 6 months down the road, a year down the road. You can always go back to this. Now we're doing the board and train, so you're going in your kennel and I'm taking you out and giving you the experiences you need and putting you back in until you've changed. It's almost like groundation. You take away all the freedoms in between the training. Eventually the dog does get these things back because the dog is a good dog, right? And we don't need... part of the experiences is teaching the dog how to behave with us as a family and how to live throughout our day. So eventually they get to the point where they don't need to be in the kennel, okay? Or the crate. Let's go to a question here. With a puppy whining in the crate, is it good to ignore the whining altogether? I don't know how old you say when you say puppy, but like there is a certain age where it's like it's just gonna whine. It's too young to be going in there and doing anything. But I start correcting my dogs usually when they're, I could start holding them accountable pretty good when they're like 4 or 5 months. Like 5 months, like this, something like that. You can really start getting a lot of, you can start correcting and they understand and all that. I don't know about any younger. You're not going to go bonk a 8-week-old puppy for whining or something. So come on, you use your judgment. But definitely by the time the dog is 6 months, by that time, the dog should be practically treated like an adult, in my opinion. But I think you can correct way earlier than people think. I think 4 or 5 months, you can be correcting, okay? Just because this is how I do it, is I mimic what the mom would do. So you'll see the mom, she'll be correcting from, as soon as they're able to start being annoying and moving around a lot and they have their senses, you can start correcting. You just need to know how to do it. And I just do the dog whispering stuff for these little pups. I don't get into the, I'm not usually doing the e-collar or a bonker or anything. I usually just use the dog whispering touches and it works for me. And then here we go, we're going to continue. She says, I don't know the proper punishment, so I don't want to try anything. The only thing I've been doing, sit in front of the crate until she settles down with head down, then I walk away. That's good. How old is she? She's 3 months. Okay, so that's where I'll get iffy too, because I don't know the dog, I don't know the temperament, and I also don't. And it's 3 months, so it's been a long time since I've had a puppy. But you can expect this: as you near closer to that 5 months, you're gonna want to start shutting that shit down. Physically correcting the dog. You're gonna want to get into that. You're gonna have to learn how to correct them. If you don't, you'll just. People who don't physically correct the dogs struggles. It's just how it goes. Physically correcting, watch dogs do it to each other so you can see, so you don't feel bad. You can understand the naturalness behind it. You can watch a mom. Go on YouTube. You can find these videos these days. You can watch a mother dog correcting its young ones and watch how firm it is and watch how the dog doesn't hate it. The dog's not scared of it if you know what you're doing. And then go watch dog whisperers like Cesar Millan and see how he does these techniques and do your study and then do it. But I'll tell you what, by the time that dog's 6 months, if it's whining in the kennel and you're not correcting it, you're not going to see it go away. That's what that is. What's going to happen is you're going to, what most people do is they stop putting it in the kennel because they want to stop the whining, so they just stop putting it in the kennel. Okay, and that causes problems. The kennel is very important when you want to take control over your dog and you really want to change the way their belief system, okay? So listen, if you're coming home from a board and train, you got to get that kennel behavior good. You got to do it. And you know what? The funny thing is the people who go home from the board and train and start struggling are the people who don't follow these instructions of keeping it tight like this and then loosening up as the dog does good, they loosen up too soon. Okay, they have success. That's why, because the dog feels good. It feels good. It feels like it's ready to go and conquer the world. But then, if they don't have the skills, think about it this way, like they're new to the owner. The owners are new to operating the system and stuff. And now we're out, I don't know, at a fucking parade or something. I don't know where you are. You're out. You're in the thick of it. There's people everywhere. There's dogs everywhere. And it's like, you've been doing this for 3 days. The dog's been doing it for 3 weeks. The dog's ready, but you're fumbling when you need to not be fumbling, and it leads to an experience where the dog doesn't really believe you as much as they did us, and then that starts you off on a bad path. All right? And so just go home and be patient. Put the dog in the kennel. You don't need to spend all this fucking time with your dog, though, either, I understand it, but find something else to do. You need to just think of your dog as getting it under control. This isn't about having fun with it right now. You'll have fun with it later once it's under control. But right now, it's like, I'm changing you. Here's the things you struggle with. You're reactive to dogs. You're going to go in the kennel, and when you're out of the kennel, we're going to be working on your reactivity to dogs. And that's pretty much when you're out of the kennel, is when we're working on that, or we're doing some other things that we're working on. You're not out of the kennel just dicking off anymore. I need you to straighten up. I need you to behave differently. And in fact, because I don't want to be worrying about you emotionally, maybe I'll pick up a different hobby and not worry about spending so much goddamn time with the dog until it's where it needs to be. The only time you need to spend, when you're not spending with the dog, spend it on learning about how to get it under control. When it's in its kennel for those hours, do your homework of learning how to get the dog trained up on these commands if they're not already, or how to work on these situations. Watch my content, watch other people's content to learn what you're doing, and then take the thing out of the kennel and go work with it, make some success, and then put it back in the kennel. Don't be so emotional about it. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine. In a month, that cake will be nice and baked, and you'll be ready to start loosening up, and then you can enjoy it. But that's the hard part. Is because we want that relationship with our dogs because it feels great, but the dog doesn't deserve it. And if you give him that level of that level of loving and stuff, he's just going to think that I'm good how I am. And it's like, no, you're not. I want my dog on its tippy toes if it's in a bad space, and I want it to look at me every second wondering how I want it to behave. And that doesn't come through me loving on the thing. Okay? That comes because if you do something I don't like, I'll say I don't like it, and if you do it again, I'll correct you. So the dog around me, I'm relevant. So they want to watch me, and then they want to correlate their behavior based off from what I might like. And that doesn't come through babying the dog. Okay? And this should come first. Your dog should be looking at you like you're an authority figure. Like you have control. Like you will actually step up and disagree with something. They should be. And if they're not looking at you that way, you're not doing it right. Not in the way that I do it. Because we're not taking them out and saying, let's learn. We're not taking them out of their kennel and grabbing a pouch of food or a ball and playing a game to learn a command. We're not doing that because we want our dogs to be respectful. That's why. I want you to sit because I want you to sit. Not because I don't want you to sit because you want to earn the food that's in my pocket. These are the wrong messages to send to a dog that has an attitude, who doesn't give you attention, who doesn't focus on you, who doesn't give a fuck about you other than what you can provide for it. And that's the truth. So this is how you get a dog who actually wants to please you. They actually want to please you. They look at you differently. This is what it's all about. Everything else is cake. Like the commands and stuff, that's cake. If a dog looks at you like it wants to please you and is concerned about that first, you don't even need to know commands. That dog will be easier than the dog who knows all these commands but doesn't give a fuck. Because listen, the dog will be out for a walk and it'll be like, I'm concerned about everything else. All the scents over there, the squirrel over there, the dogs over here. I'm so obsessed with all that. I don't care about what my human's saying. That's the shit we're here to work on. So you know where you are, dog? You're in the kennel. And when we come out, we're working on that. And then you're in the kennel. And when you come out, we're working on that. And then you're in the kennel. And when you come out, we're working on that. The weeks go by, right? Things change. The dog treats you differently. The dog's respectful. You get what you want, but you have to hang up what you want for a little while to get it. Because you're not going to be spending all this mushy, lovey time with your dog. The dog is not where you want it to be, so you treat it as such. Put it in the kennel, take it out, work on it, put it in the kennel. This is a board and train. That's it. It's not magic. And it's not like, I guess it's not thrilling unless you're into behavior. It's your chance to repair everything at home. The dog doesn't deserve freedom yet. Doesn't. And you decided that you're going to take control, so you have to take away the freedom. The dog will earn it once it proves to you that it can behave in these certain situations, and it proves to you that once it starts to mess up, if you say, don't do that, it's respectful enough to stop and listen. Because I'm not saying a dog has to be perfect. I'm just saying if they start to mess up, if you say, don't do that, they stop. That's all we need. We don't need a dog to be perfect. We just need them to stop and really stop when we say stop, okay? And we need them to do when we say do in these situations that they struggle in. And until they can do that, they're still on the program. They'll be able to do it though. That's the good news. Here's the good news. If you do this, it works. It really works, okay? So if you want to do a board and train at home and you know nothing, the dog got to learn the kennel first, okay? Take it out of the kennel. What you're going to be doing is you're going to be teaching the commands more than likely for a little bit of time, at least a couple weeks, and then putting the dog in the kennel. So the dog's still spending a lot of time in the kennel, but eventually, once you've got those commands taught, which is going to be, you're going to want recall. You need recall. That's like number one. And then probably sit, stay, place, and then maybe a walk, heel. If you want to throw down in there, now you've got it all, okay, pretty much. And then once the dog knows that, you're still going to take them out, but the experiences are going to be setups. You're going to be using the commands in these setups, such as like people knocking on the door. Let's teach you what to do in the house while there's distractions. If this gets too much, this environment, and now there's somebody at the door, it's exciting. Do you listen to me? When I tell you to go lay down on the place bed, will you? If not, it's not good. If you bark at the door and I say no, and you don't immediately shut up and go relax, we got work to do, right? This is the kind of we want to do. So now we want to take the dog out, put it in this experience where we're starting to knock on the door and teach it. Teach it by it barking or doing an inappropriate thing, and we correct what we don't like until it goes away. And all that's left is what we like. Because all we like is the dog just disengaged and watching cute from across the room, and unless it's offered to go up on the people. This is the controlled experience that we're going to be giving the dog on repeat. The human's job is to come up with the resources. If you got kids, they can help. If you got neighbors, they can help. You need to have somebody at the door eventually, daily, until it's over. You know what I mean? I know that's the hard part for me as a trainer, is getting the resources constantly to help these dogs, get people to knock on the door, you know what I mean? So then you give them the controlled experiences to change the way your dog behaves in the house. If this happened at dinner time, what do we do? Well, let's take the dog out of the kennel and teach it what to do during dinner time. And then after that, back to the kennel. I know it's strict, but it's only the beginning of the process. This doesn't go on more than a month, you know what I mean? So, because the dog's going to then be able to be out. It's going to be able to, at the very least, you can use place, and the dog's not a hassle, you know what I mean? The good news is this doesn't take a lot of time on your end, and then you're going to want to work on the walk, because you're going to want a little neighborhood walk, and you're going to want it to be good. And then you're good, man. If you got your in-home behavior and you got your walk around your neighborhood, you've got a little life. And let's say that's not stressful. Let's say it's actually nice and the dog actually listens. It's no longer stressful in the house. It listens, it relaxes, it doesn't do the things you were worried about it doing before. You've worked on that. The walk is nice. It's not reacting to other dogs anymore. You can just kind of enjoy your walk. You've already got more than most people. If you want to bring it to the next level, then you can. You can start working on going into the car and teaching your dog how to do car rides, Not quite going somewhere new, but make sure they can just handle the ride. The car equals calm. That's an experience, because remember, we like to break it up. So we can work on the car, not piling them, working on the car for the first time and an outing for the first time and losing control. Just the car. Let's just do the car for a while. I know it sucks. I know, because you're not going and doing anything. You're just going for a drive and correcting the nonsense behavior in the car and making sure the dog can be relaxed in the car, right? Then once that's kind of easy and normal, then we can pick a place to go and work on that particular place. You know what I mean? And teaching the dog the do's and don'ts of this place, right? And working on our commands. All the while, when we go home, you're going in your kennel. okay? Now, a month down the road, 2 months down the road, however long it takes you and your dog's able to do these things, and you feel like you're successful with your dog, then you can just start living it normal again. But I recommend having the dog sleep in the kennel, at least sleep in the kennel, and obviously be put in the kennel when you're not home. But it can start having free time again, meaning if you're not doing anything with it, you can just have it hang around. But know this, it's more work for you in the beginning, because when you have them hang around, things happen. All of a sudden, a FedEx guy's here, all of a sudden something's happening, and you're still responsible for your dog's behavior. You're not responsible. If you want to hang up that leadership hat for a little while, put it in the kennel. Put it in the kennel. Even when it's on place, you're responsible. So you can use place, and you can have them live with you more and start to be included into your day. That's the reward for them, by the way, and for you. Everybody's reward is them being included in our lives, okay? We don't need to worry about going and getting more treats and toys and stuff. I understand. But that's the reward now, is that you're now out with us longer and more and involved in more stuff. That's the reward. And so you can see the dog appreciative, because it's no longer an entitled brat, because it's been through this process. You see a dog who's actually on their best behavior, just happy that they're out of the kennel. And then that's not such a bad thing. In fact, that's an amazing thing, because that's a dog who's showing respect. And now you're on to a good start. You're on to a good start, right? And however far you want to take it, my dogs only have a certain life. Like, they're not going anywhere, really. They live on the property. We have 6 acres. We have our house. We have the little local community that they do walk around. And, they'll go on car rides here and there, go up to Frederick here and there, go to the vet here and there. But for the most part, they live right here on the property, and we're all happy. Don't even really walk them that much, because there's so much stuff going on around here. But if I wanted to walk my dog a lot like I used to, when I lived somewhere more downtown-like, you better believe their walk was on point. Better believe we worked on that every day, because I needed that on my day-to-day. If you don't walk your dog and you live out in the country, you might spend your time on different things. You might not be doing the walk. You might be doing more off-leash, just teaching your dog to walk off-leash around the farm, what to do around these particular animals. It depends on your lifestyle. If you're in the city, you're going to want to be working on more out on the streets, So, but here's the thing, guys. I got it wrote down here. Kennel-experience-Kennel. Okay? Let the dog soak on that experience before you take him out. I hope it makes sense. That's all we're doing here at the Board and Train as far as structure. That's the meat of it. And I'll give you an idea of what a real Board and Train looks here, a day in a Board and Train. The dogs sleep in the kennel. So they start their day by waking up, and then they get breakfast and depending on where they are, a little social, but at least a potty break. But if they're also like a few days in and they're not aggressive or anything, they'll get a morning social. So they wake up, they get breakfast and a social and potty and all that. And then they go back to the kennel, and then one at a time, they get let out to do their session. So if somebody gets taken out to go have their experience, an hour and a half, however long it takes, an hour, whatever it is. Sometimes it's 15 minutes because I just want to do a quick thing real quick while I have the opportunity, whatever. I'm taking them out and having an experience, learning commands, whatever we're doing. They come back in, another dog comes out. Do it. Okay, they come back in, the next dog comes out. I do 3 dogs at a time. And then they're all done, and then another social. Right as soon as I finish that last dog, they all go back out, including my dogs, and there's another social. Okay, this will probably put us at like noon or something like that, right? And then everybody's back in the kennels, boom, 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 okay? I'm gonna go eat lunch. I'm gonna go do a Skype, whatever I'm doing, right? That puts us another hour and a half that the dogs were in the kennel, right? Let's call it 2 hours, whatever I have to do. We're gonna go back down, and now if there's any outings or anything like that, they're gonna do that. Take the dog out, take them to wherever, depending on where they are in the training. If they're not on week 2 or 3, they're not gonna do outings. They're gonna go and maybe do like duration place while I paint or whatever. But now they're gonna get another session. They usually get 2 a day. So like one, let's put it this way, 1 learning something new session, and then the rest, the next session is just kind of passive. So like, let's say they're on place. So I'll take somebody out with me, or maybe even all of them, depending on where they are, and they'll just place They're not doing any, they're just learning how to be relaxed with us. So the next session is just kind of like passive learning. They're just going to be hanging out, whether I'm painting or Julie's doing content, or if it's a nice summer day and we're actually all outside and able to do it. They're still out for a session, and their experience this time is relaxing, using the place command more than likely. Okay, that's going to take a couple hours. After that, it's down, guess where? Back to the social yard, back to the potty. Okay, now we're getting towards dinner time. Each social is 20 minutes, 30 minutes anyway, so you got to imagine. You go back in, now you're at dinner time. Everybody eat, everybody relax. I go upstairs. I eat dinner. I do stuff with the family, Julie and Jesse. This will bring us more towards a few hours of that, 3 hours maybe, tops. And then we're at like 7 o'clock, sometime between 7 and 8. Back down, last call. Usually if it's summer, we can do another social because it'll be warm and light out. If it's winter, one at a time, potties. And then it's radio on, lights out, little night light on, cameras on, good night. Start over the next day. Put that on repeat for 3 weeks for the dogs. That's what it looks like. Now, as they're on their last week, they're out of the kennels more, just like they will be at home, because they're easy. They know their stuff, so they just hang out with us more. It's true. A lot less kennel time as they're here. Yeah, but they all start just like that structure. And the dogs adjust to it wonderfully. But here's the thing, not everybody can do this, because if you don't work from home, it could be very hard to do. Letting your dog, every 2 to 3 hours, letting your dog out, doing something with it, and then putting it back. So that's it. Let me look over my notes. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything for you guys, and then I'll look at the comments. We went over the proof in place thing. Okay. Let's see. Mylan has a question. Do some dogs have trouble transferring these lessons to new situations, like travel to new city, stay in different hotel? Absolutely, they do. So even with my dogs, anything new, I always feel like I have to be on, as far as like it's a learning lesson. So it depends on how experienced the dog is. Some dogs are generalized, like those everywhere dogs. They are consistent in all these new situations. They just know how to behave in every situation. So the thing that's the saving grace about that, Mylan, is that the commands are non-negotiable. So let's say, like, as long as the dogs, we lean on the commands at that point. So it's like, I know you know heel, and I know you know the rules of heel is to not leave the position. So I can make it through this city or this hotel or this moment in time by using the commands heel, down, like those two right there. I got my dog walking with me, and I got my dog staying or sit or whatever. Walking and sitting. We can make it through this hotel. We can make it through this moment in time that you're not familiar with by using the commands, because I know you understand them. And I'll hold you accountable, so you'll do them even though you might be a little nervous of the new environment. You'll still stay in heel. You'll still stay and sit because of the way we were taught. So it's not like, they're still reliable, although the dog emotionally might be a little concerned. It'll still listen to the command, so it'll get us through it the first time. And then obviously, if we're doing the same thing over and over again, the dog feels more comfortable because, or then you get a dog who's not having any insecurity issues. It's a new place and I want to go check everything out. It works the same. If I lean on my commands, because you can't check everything out because we're in a hotel, right? Or we're in a city street. If I use my commands, this is when we would use them. I know that if I say heel, even if you want to go over there to check out that stuff, you won't, because that's the rules of heel. Or if I tell you to sit, you will stay there even when dogs are barking at your face as they walk by. So having that really reliable commands, because of the e-collar training, really, because the dogs know we can hold them accountable. And they've been proofed through a board and train like this. They'll be proofed through stuff like that. We'll have dogs barking in their face to proof all the commands, so the dogs will know how to do this. We lean on the commands and we get through the situation. So as long as our commands work, meaning like they're non-negotiable, the dog understands the system, The dog understands the Punisher, like we're using an e-collar. They understand that it can get really hot because they've been down that road. They've been proofed. They've been proofed with high level distractions. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. They'll be able to make it through it. That's what this training does. It gets you to that point where you can have control even when, things are kind of crazy. But it only gets better as you use it and as you do it over and over again. Bethany says, what do you suggest for crate placement? Thank you, Bethany. In the house. That is another note I put up. I actually did write a note. I just wrote so many, I can't find the good ones. I recommend a quiet place with little to no foot traffic. That's what I recommend. I don't like the idea. I see people put it right by the front door. I think it's a terrible idea. I think it worsens the anxiety in dogs. Your dog shouldn't, if it's in its kennel, it should be like you on the toilet. Private. You don't want people in and out, okay? Because we don't want this dog in its safe spot and then just all of a sudden there's something in the environment that it doesn't know how, there's a new person in front of me. You don't want it to ever have to worry about that. So wherever it goes, it should be private. It should be quiet as much as you can. I know people have trouble with that. But if you want the most success out of this, what I'm telling you to do, it would be in its own room in a kennel still. But it would, that's what we're doing with our guys. If on a professional level, they have their own room with their kennel, with other dogs, but it's a whole section of the house that people aren't going in. And that's where the dog is. And so with a camera on them, and all that, and obviously well ventilated. I hope that's common sense for most people on here, but you don't know. Don't put them in a closet. That's, you know what I mean? Dark with no ventilation. You know what I mean? Private, little to no foot traffic. Okay? So that would be however your house is laid out. Ours it's downstairs. I remember in my old house with my dog, I had it, where the heck did we have it? Before I was a dog trainer, at one point I had it in my bedroom. It was terrible for sleeping for me because I'm too light of a sleeper. Every time he moves, I wake up. It's not the dog's fault, but I can't do it in the bedroom. So where the hell did we put him? I can't remember. I think we tucked him off. in the living room, and it was a problem. It was a problem because we had multiple people living in the house. Somebody would get up earlier and they'd walk by and the dog would get fussy because he's just a puppy and I haven't done all the work with him yet. And it's like, well, now the dog's up and now I'm up. And it's like, if I could have a place, which I do now in my new houses, because I always look at a house now like, where's the dog going to go? They get their own room. We have a pack of dogs. They have their own room in the house. Yeah, it's hard, Bethany. It really is. But I'm sure that as long as your house is quiet, if you don't have a bunch of young ones romping around and stuff, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. For the family home though, they really got to go find a place. They got a puppy and they're putting it in the living room and they're putting it in the kennel, which is good for them. They're using the kennel, but the kids are running around and it's like now the dog's whining, but the kids are running around. It's like, rule number one, take control of the environment. So it's like, if I say, kids, stop running around, do they stop? If they don't, obviously, we have a couple things we need to work on. We either need to work on the kids or just surrender to that situation and move the dog because the kids aren't going to calm down. We need a place the dog can go to relax. Because think about this, they just took a test. They just went and took a test with you, and now they're in the kennel and they're going to soak in that information. We want it to be quiet, and we want it to no temptations. But I understand it is hard to find. I've been in that situation, and I've lived with dogs with multiple people, more than just my significant other, other family members. And it's at one point we had him in the basement, my dog in the basement when I lived with my grandma, and that was okay. But it's still a pain in the ass because I gotta go all the way down to the basement every time I need to get my dog. I didn't like that either. So find a place that you can in your house, the best you can do, guys. It's still going to work. You're just going to have to work harder at the kennel stuff. You're just going to have to make sure your dog understands that even though there's going to be people walking through and stuff, you still can't whine at them and beg them to let you out. Okay? So this is how I would do it. If I could rewind the clock back to my first dog when I was first learning how to do this stuff, this is the approach that I would have tried. I would have put him in the kennel. And every 2 to 3 hours, I would have been taking him out and doing something with him, even if it was small, working towards where we need to be, and then back in the kennel. But then also having time. Listen, don't forget this part, and I hope most people who watch make it to this part. You still need to let the dog out of the kennel to be a dog, to stretch its legs, okay? I know it still needs to have a time or two in the day where it can go and run around. So if you've got a backyard or something like that, that'd be the time to do it. If you want to hang out with your dog, that'd be the time to do it. But all the extra time, when you're not right there doing something with your dog, like throwing the ball or something, it's in the kennel. It's not just roaming around the house. All that roaming around the house, and now they're chewing on socks, and now they went after the cat, and now somebody came to the door and they're practicing it, at the very least, excitement. This is all patterning. You're patterning this stuff, and your dog's creating its own associations, and it will be on autopilot very soon, and it will stop thinking, and it'll just start triggering to everything with the associations that it created. So more than likely, you guys are going against old associations as it is if you're watching this. So when you take your dog out, those are going to be the training sessions, okay? Listen, try it. Somebody try it and let me know how it works for you, because it really works. I mean, this board and train thing is great. Remember, experience stacking. We want, at the end up here, we got our dog's belief system just right, so they're no longer reacting at dogs. They're no longer having destructive behaviors around the house or reacting to guests. All the nonsense, they're not doing it. They're just being nice companions who are able to be calm and take our direction, right? Sweet, hopefully. We have all these experiences that created that, okay? From the first day that we started, we kept giving it experiences that changed the way it believed until we got here, okay? That's what a board and train is. And then if it's the board and train, the dog's ready to go home right then and there. But what happens when it goes home is it fights the new expectation is fighting the old association. So we're using that kennel, taking them out and going and working on that shit and bringing them back out until you've got what you need, until you feel like the dog, wow, the dog's doing really good. Then you just start living with the dog and adjust accordingly. You just use the stuff as needed, but you know you have it to that, you have it to that level if you need it. You know, you could have your dog in constant command if you needed it to. You could take it from the kennel into a heel onto the place bed, from the place bed, heel to the door, heel around the neighborhood, release it to go potty, recall it back to a heel. You know, you could use your commands and never let your dog out of a command. Of course, that's only if you need it. That's if you're going through this city. You know, you're going to need it when you're going through the city. You're going to need it when you're going through the hotel, and it's new and your dog doesn't. You're going to need it that tight. So in order to get it that tight, you have to use it even when you don't need it. So you just make it part of your dog's life to know how to do constant command. That would probably be your best if you live in a city. You want to make sure you can take your dog from the kennel, go have an adventure, and back to the kennel, all within command. Even when you release them to like take a potty, you can immediately recall back into a sit, into a heel. You understand? Can you flow it all together and keep your dog in constant command until you get back home, even through distractions? Now listen, that's not what I do with my dogs once they're where they need to be, right? Because you want to kind of have some fun. But it's absolutely necessary for dogs who have a history of high levels of reactivity, aggression, insecurity to the point where they're nervous of the environment. They need you to be able to take that control and get them through environments tight like that, because you're going to need it from time to time. Oh, we're about to walk by some barking dogs. Let's get that tight shit going. Heel. Now we're going to be in our structure, right? Or you don't feel comfortable, so we're going to use our structure to get you through the situation. So you want to practice that because you are going to need it to that level with difficult dogs, okay? But it doesn't mean that's how those dogs live. Try and make that clear, because you run into different types of problems when you never let your dog out of a command. You run into different types of problems when you do things right like this, like technically, but this is how the dog was raised, and so the dog never actually, it only really knows how to behave in commands. So when it's out of commands, it has no idea how to behave socially. It only knows how to behave socially if it's in a command. And we don't want that either. So make sure some of your experiences, once the dog's doing good, make sure we're ditching the commands, like say with guests coming over and stuff, and we're proofing it even without that command to see if that dog can relax and in its mind without being in that command. Would be something that I would do with my dog personally. It's not something that I have to do with every board and trained dog, because it's not what I'm getting hired to do. But it is something that I do add into my training here. I do. I hopefully that the dog